Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all really well and looking forward to a practice. So today we are going to focus on anxiety. So anxious feelings are completely normal to have, but it's how we cope with these anxious feelings and don't let them become overwhelming. So this practice is going to be focusing on slowing the heart rate down, stretching out the body, maybe having a couple of inversion type poses like downward dog, not anything too strenuous, just to get the blood flowing in a different direction and to help you feel as if you're resetting and calming down a little bit. So I think that's everything for now. We will make a start. Come to a comfortable seated position. I'm just going to start kneeling here. Just bring the hands down to the legs. Let them rest down onto the tops of the thighs. Take a moment here to start breathing. And also take a moment to think about why you've stepped on the mat. So what is it that's brought you to your practice today? Maybe you are feeling extremely anxious today. Or maybe you're feeling okay, but just want to keep that okay feeling going. So also while we're here, just set your intention for the practice, something you can take through, something maybe for the rest of the day ahead or the rest of the week, or maybe just for while you're on the mat. We're going to start to go into a bit of breath work here. So the breath work, the pranayama we're going to do is nadi shodhana, which is alternate nostril breathing. This is a really good technique for not only getting the air flowing through each nostril, which is a good balancing technique if you're balancing your energy or trying to relax, but it's also a good way to slow the heart rate down and to start to concentrate on the breath and feel that breath flow. So this is a really good one if you do struggle with anxiety, just to take a moment to do, if you have time throughout the day at all, just do this nadi shodhana breath work. So we'll move into it. So you can stay here on a comfortable seated position. If you're okay kneeling, then kneel. Just make sure you're nice and comfortable because we're going to take a few minutes just to go through the breath. So what you do is you bring your left hand out in front of you. We're going to be putting the fourth finger on the right nostril, and then the thumb is going to be for the left. So we're going to start by closing the right nostril, and then we're going to breathe in gently through the nose, through the left. Once we've breathed in through the left, close it with the thumb and open your right nostril and breathe out gently. Inhale through the right again. And swap it over, so fourth finger onto right nostril and open up the left and breathe out. So we're going to keep going through this breath just for a few moments, and I'll let you do this. I won't speak, and I'll let you know when we're coming towards the end of the pranayama. So begin with the left nostril. When you next breathe out of your left nostril, just bring the hands back down. So once you've finished your pranayama, you can just come back to a natural rhythm of breath. Just breathing naturally. And then we'll move to bringing one hand to the heart, one hand to the tummy. Take a big inhale through the nose. Hold the breath at the top for 1, 2, 3, and exhale, sigh out of the mouth. Perfect, so we can start to blink open the eyes. And we're going to move to our first asana, which is our child's pose. So toes together, knees nice and wide and apart. We want to make this quite nice and relaxing and restorative. So having the knees nice and open means that we can sink down with the upper body through the legs. Stretch the arms forward towards the top of the mat and just rest your forehead down onto the mat. And start to think about relaxing the whole body. Relax the hands, so don't grab on too much to the mat. Relax the neck, relax the jaw, and just sink down into your child's pose. And while you're here, if it feels good, take a little roll on the forehead, just releasing any tension from the neck. Perfect. If you're rolling that forehead, then just come back to center. And we're going to start to pull ourselves up towards our tabletop. So coming to our all fours position, hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hips. We're going to start going through some cat-cows. So inhale, push the tummy down, tailbone comes up, look forwards. And then exhale, start to push against the mat, start rounding in the back and look towards the knees. Really stretching the spine. Inhale again, opening up, arching the spine. And exhale to round. So keep going through these movements, your cat-cows, matching the breath with the movement. And if it feels good, maybe even just closing the eyes. Taking any movements as well that feel good, so any intuitive movements. Maybe you're happy just arching and rounding, or maybe you want to add a little bit of a circle of the spine, moving, however feels good for you today. And if you are circling the spine, then just make sure you're going both ways. So go one way for a little bit and then change it around. And then we're going to gently start to let go of our cat-cows, come to a neutral spine. So don't dip down too much, try and keep a nice flat back. Check in with the knees and make sure the knees are still under the hips. So from here, we're going to move into our melting heart pose. So start walking the hands forwards towards the top of the mat until we come to bring the chest down. Reach the forehead down towards the mat. And you can stay here with the forehead here, just lifting the hips up and arching and bending to make sure the chest comes down. Or if it's comfortable for you and it's accessible, then just bring the chin towards the chest. You're looking forwards. This gives you a bit of more of a deep back bend and pushes you down just a little bit further. Take a last breath here. And then gently start to walk the hands back towards the tabletop position. Make sure your hands are shoulder distance, so they might want to be a little bit further forwards than under your shoulders. Tuck the toes, and we're going to lift the hips up, come to your first downward facing dog, your Ardha Mukha Svanasana. So feet are hip distance here. Just start to pedal out the feet. Really push into the hands as well. So maybe take a moment just to look at the hands and make sure the middle finger and the index finger are pointing towards the top of the mat. And then you want to be pushing the whole of the hand into the mat. And then almost grabbing with the tops of the fingers, so you're kind of clawing just a little bit with the index finger and the thumb in particular. Once you've got that, just lift out of the shoulders, so push the hands away from you and keep pedaling out the feet. So downward dog is technically an inversion because the hips are over the head and the shoulders. And it just means that the blood flows in a different direction, almost like we're rebooting the system. Perfect. We'll find a bit of stillness here in down dog. Take an inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh out of the mouth. And then start to tiptoe your way towards the top of the mat. And we're going to find ourselves in a standing forward bend. So here, have the feet hip distance. Bend into the knees to begin with and just grab onto opposite elbows. Let the head hang heavy and draw that chin towards your chest so it really protects the neck and gets the neck nice and relaxed. And if it feels good for you, then maybe take a little sway from side to side. Keep breathing as we're going. And make sure while we're here, just to be mindful of the jaw, not to clench the jaw, just to relax it instead and maybe bring the tongue towards the top of the mouth. We'll start to find a bit of stillness here. Keep holding on to the elbows and drawing the upper body down. And then we can start to bring the fingers down towards the mat. Bend into the knees if you're not already. And inhale, start to roll up the spine. Coming all the way to standing. And the neck comes last. It's almost like you're being pulled up by a string from the head, but the hips come first. So from here, we're in our Tadasana. Think about feet under the hips. Tuck the pelvis in, roll the shoulders, look forwards. Inhale, lift the arms up. And we're just going to exhale, cactus the arms. So bring the elbows in line with the shoulders, open the hands up and look forwards, look up. And then we're going to inhale, reach the arms up again. And one more time, exhale, cactus the arms. And here you're just trying to think about lifting the heart up so the heart is shining forwards and up. Inhale, lift the arms up again. And then exhale, hands come through to heart center. From here, bring your hands to your hips. And we're just going to keep the right foot facing forwards, but we're going to step the left foot back. So we're setting up like we're in a warrior two, and you have a bit of like a heel to heel alignment with your feet. So from here, open the arms out wide, look towards the front middle finger. Check in with that front knee and make sure you can see the big toe. So if you can't, then just pull the knee out. From here, we're going to start to straighten the right leg. Keep pulling the left hip back. Push both hips backwards towards the back of the mat. And when you next exhale, just bring your right hand towards your right shin. So we're setting up for our triangle pose. So reach the left arm up and you want to think about pulling the chest open. Think about having one long line from bottom hand to top and keep concentrating on that pelvis tuck and pulling the left hip back. Perfect. Inhale, start to lift back up and come back to your warrior two, your Virabhadrasana two. Come up onto the toes of the left foot and reach your arms up so you're facing forwards in a low lunge. Pull the ribs in here, relax the shoulders, energize the left knee. When you next inhale, start to come up onto your right leg And we're just going to support the sole of the left foot either below the knee, like this, or above the knee. So we're going to come to our our tree pose. Focus your gaze on a spot in front of you that's not moving. Think about grounding into the mat with the right foot. Pull the left knee out, but keep pulling the right hip so you're squaring. And if you struggle to keep the foot onto the leg, really think about creating resistance between the foot and the leg. It's like you're pushing each of them towards one another. Perfect. If you're happy here, then stay here. Or if you want to test yourself and lift your arms up, coming towards a bit of a swaying tree, and just reach the arms up. Keep breathing, relax the shoulders. And if you've reached your arms up, then start to bring the hands back through heart center. And we'll drop the foot back down, the left foot back down to the mat. We're going to go to the other side, so bring the hands to the hips. And then step back with the right foot this time. So again, we're setting up with that heel to heel alignment. The right foot is parallel to the short edge of the mat. So just check that that's happening. Bend into the front knee and open the arms out wide. Relax the shoulders and look over your front middle finger. And then we'll start to straighten into the left leg, setting up for our triangle pose. So push the hips back. And when you exhale, bring the hand down towards the left shin. Reach the right arm up and maybe even look up towards that top hand. If that's not comfortable for you, then just look straight ahead. Keep pulling the right hip back. Pelvis tucks in. Perfect. Inhale, start to lift back up and come back to your warrior two. So bend into the left knee. And then from here, we're going to start to face forwards, reaching the arms up, coming up onto the toes of your right foot. So again, we're in that high lunge position. When you next inhale, we're going to lift up, start balancing onto the left leg, the left foot at the top of the mat. And we can support the sole of the right foot to either below or above the knee. Hands come to heart center. And again here, focus that gaze. Focus your gaze, focus your drishti. And use the left foot to balance. So ground all parts of the foot into the mat. Keep breathing. And remember, you can stay here with your hands at heart center, or you can start to reach the arms above the head, reaching towards the ceiling, making sure we keep the shoulders relaxed as we do this. Let the wobbles come. And if you really are struggling with balance today, then don't worry, either go to a wall and just use that as support, or you can have the heel touching, so your right heel touching the left leg and toes touching the ground. If you've reached your arms up, then just bring the hands back through heart center and then gently drop the right foot back down to the mat. Make sure the feet are hip distance still, and we're going to inhale, reach the arms up, look to the thumbs. Exhale, hinge at the hips, come all the way down. Inhale, come to your flat back, so lift, find some space, push the tailbone back. And then exhale, plant the hands. And we're going to step back to our downward facing dog. So your legs should feel a little bit different to how they felt when we first got in our downward dog. But if you do still feel like you want to have a little bit of a pedal out the feet, a little wiggle of the hips, a little bit of movement, then just do what feels good. Keep breathing here, looking through the ankles. And then we're going to start to drop the knees down towards the mat. Sit back on the heels and lift the upper body up. So from here, we're going to go to our hero's pose, which is a really good pose to stretch out the whole of the legs, the knees especially, but it's quite an intense pose. So if you do feel like you want a little bit more height for the hips, which often I do quite like, then pop this underneath. So it'll go in between your ankles. You'll sit down onto the block, and then your feet are going to come either side of your legs. So you're going to make sure you can see the whole sole of the foot, and it's just opening the muscles in the knees that join the knees, the muscles that go all the way along to the knees and back. This is a good one to build in flexibility, but also just to find a bit of stress relief in your pose and stretching out the legs. So if you are happy on the block, then just stay there. If you want to go a little bit deeper, then remove the block and pop the hips down onto the mat. So just rest the hands down here. We're not going to stay here for too long. Try and sit tall, as if we're reaching the crown of the head up towards the ceiling. And breathe through the tension you feel. So tension is okay, and stretching is okay, but if you do feel any pain, then just start to lift out. We'll take one last breath. And then we'll start to lift out of that hero's pose. Come to your tabletop and just take a little wiggle of the hips. Maybe stretch out your right leg to the back of the mat and then swap it over. Perfect. So from here, we're going to swing the legs round to the front of the mat, and then we're going to shuffle ourselves down. Hold on behind the knees and just gently start to roll down so we're lying on our backs. So here, preferably don't have a bun, that means you can't lie down properly. So we're going to go towards our final pose, which is our fish pose. So start to come up onto the elbows. Make sure that your elbows are going to be underneath the shoulders, and we'll bring the hands almost underneath the top of the bum, so touching the lower back. Hold onto the mat with the hands and then gently slide backwards until you can drop the top of the head down onto the mat. And once you get there, just try to open up in the chest. Feel that chest lift upwards and feel the small back bend. This is a really good pose for releasing tension, releasing emotion, and just finding a bit of stillness. So I should mention that the best place to look at is the wall behind you. So along the floor towards the wall. Take a breath. And then the way we're going to come out of this is just by pushing against the hands and the elbows and lifting up. So we're back in that elbow under the shoulder position. From here, bring the hands from underneath you and just lie the whole body down. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together. So we're in a bit of a reclined butterfly. And we're going to have the hands on the thighs. So the hands aren't pulling the legs down, but they're just resting there. And by all means, if you do prefer putting your hands on your tummy or one hand on your heart, one hand on the belly, then just go for that now. We'll just start taking some breaths. Maybe take a moment here to come back to your intention. And also take a moment to think about how you feel now compared to how you felt when you first stepped on the mat. Do you feel a bit less anxious? Do you feel like some of your worries are starting to float away, like you can manage them a bit better? And if you're still feeling super anxious, then don't worry. Just keep breathing and acknowledging those feelings. We'll take 3 more deep breaths here. 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111, 112, 113, 114, 115, 116, 1 And then whenever you're ready, just start to use your hands to support the knees back in. Bring the hands behind the knees and just bring the knees a bit further up towards the chest. And then hold the knees, so pull the legs up towards the chest, almost like we're in a bit of a ball, but holding on behind the thighs. And use this time to maybe take a little rock from side to side. Massage that lower back into the mat. Take an inhale here. And then exhale, we're going to drop the legs down. Roll onto one side, so come to your fetal position. Pop a hand under the head. And before we start making our way up to the top of the mat, just take a moment here. It's not often we take time to be still. So often our mind's so busy, our body's busy. So just this simple pose, this fetal pose, just serves your stillness. And trying to keep our eyes closed until we get to the top, or keeping that soft gaze as well. And just start to make your way up to the top of the mat. So whether that's with crossed legs or whether you want to go back to a kneeling position, just find that comfortable position. And bring one hand to the heart and one hand to the belly. We're going to go through that releasing breath that we did at the beginning. But before we go here, just think about anything you want to release. Any feelings you want to release. Any past experiences you want to release. We'll take a big inhale through the nose. Hold at the top for 1, 2, 3. Exhale, sigh out of the mouth. Release it all out. And namaste. So there we go, that was your little flow, little stretch to help with any anxiety or anxious feelings that people are experiencing. If you do feel like you have any questions about today, then please make sure to get in touch with me or send me a message, or comment on the video. And also please do make sure that you subscribe to the channel and keep up to date with all the videos that are coming up. I've got something very exciting for all you YouTube lovers that's going to be happening at the beginning of Feb. But I'll release more information about it when it comes nearer the time. So I also will say, please follow the link to this quick morning practice because it is a dream and it's lovely to fit into your day. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.